All right, good afternoon, everybody. I think I'm the closing act here, maybe.
Oh, not quite.
Bill Driscoll, I'm the state rep for Milton and Randolph. I've had the honor of working for Randolph and Milton since 2017. I was just saying that this is a lot different from the 16 race in that I think I only got rained out once in 2016. That was the drought year, if you remember. So we only had one day that we lost out. This cycle is a little different. Every day it feels like we're in Florida. It might rain or hail, depending upon what's going on. But it's really great to be with you all. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the Randolph Dems and taking an interest in the election and to hear from all of us. It's been an honor, like I said, to be part of the delegation at the State House for Randolph these last 7.5 years. And I think I'm ready to move down the hall from the House of Reps into the Senate and bring all the relationships that I've built in the House with my colleagues, the senators that I know that I've worked with over those 7 years, with the state agencies. You know, many of you have called or had your neighbors call when they're running into a brick wall at a state agency. A lot of what we do is constituent services work, so helping find information out for a homeowner or for someone that maybe is having a tough time with unemployment, or the RMV or Department of Health. Also for the town, whether the select council member calls, or a town manager or a mayor in the future. You know, if I'm lucky enough to represent the 5 additional towns, I have those relationships. My staff does it each and every day for us and for all of you in terms of making those connections, trying to find solutions to your problems and figuring out what's going on. And so we're ready to move down the hall, not miss a beat, into the Senate. And I continue to, you know, working at the scale of government is what drives me to this type of work. As many of you know, my previous life before being elected, I was full-time in disaster response around the country. I kind of fell into a career after Hurricane Katrina, went down as a volunteer in 2005, and ended up staying 2 years on the Gulf Coast. So instead of staying 2 weeks, I ended up staying 2 years, and then those 2 years turned into more than a decade in the nonprofit world. It gave me a chance to travel the country, work with more than 40 cities and towns at the state, local level, and even with FEMA and the federal government to try and figure out how to people move beyond the tornado, flood, hurricane that they were affected by, put their lives back together, put their homes back together. And when the seat opened up in 2016, the opportunity to work here at home for Milton and Randolph was something that I couldn't pass up. And with your help, we were successful in that, and I've been doing that work. In Randolph, one of the things that we're really proud of the last 7 years is working with the town council. In particular, for 3 years now, we funded town social worker position. It's something that came through as a recommendation from several of the councilors, and we've got a budget earmark now that the town social worker was like kind of a missing key ingredient here in Randolph, and now they travel between the RDTC or the Turner Public Library. And at one point, there's actually multiple. The town used ARPA money because the waiting list to see the town social worker was so long, as a way just to kind of demonstrate the need that was here. Something we're really proud of because it's changing lives. It's helping normal people, you know, working people navigate and figure out what might be eligible for them in terms of state assistance or other grant programs and things. It's really great. It's changing lives, and I'm really proud to continue to fund that earmark, and hopefully we'll carry that on in the Senate. As many of you know, when I first got in and started working in Randolph in 2016, Ida Gordon, my friend Ida for the Randolph School Committee, brought the issue to me of the ranking of the school district here in Randolph. Randolph School District was, if you remember, the 1 to 5. 1 is you're the best district in the world, 5 is you're in receivership. Randolph was a 4, despite the fact that the schools in Randolph were ranked 2s and 3s. And so I went to the state after the town brought it to me and Ida and the school committee and said, I'm not a math major, but I don't know how we get average district ranking of a 4 and our schools are ranked 2s and 3s. Like, what's going on here? And so we were able to push the Department of Ed and Secretary Pizer at the time under the Baker administration to make sure that Randolph was being treated fairly and consistently in this process. And so we got Randolph out of level 4 because it was hurting, you know, the image of Randolph and whether or not people wanted to think about keeping their kids in the school or moving here or moving away from here. And we're really proud of that work, proud of the work with the town. And it's emblematic of what I bring to the State House and trying to listen to the local delegation, whether they're at the state, local, federal level, and figure out how we can work within the state agencies to get things done, whether that's passing legislation or whether that's working directly and influencing an agency. So with your help, I'll get there. It's as you know, the day after Labor Day, September 3rd, so vote on that date or before it. I know that everyone here is a really good voter, and I appreciate it to let your neighbors know and get the opportunity to continue to serve Randolph. So thank you again. I'll stick around for a while if you have questions. Thanks again.
Thank you, Bill.
I have a question.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bill, I got an email a couple of days ago saying that you had filed as an attorney an amicus brief supporting the town of Milton in its opposition to the MTA housing bill, which is state law now. How is that going to help the rest of us in the district, in the Senate district? And why did you do that?
That's a great question. So if you couldn't hear it, as you know, the Attorney General brought a lawsuit because the town missed the deadline, and the town of Milton missed the deadline in terms of filing a zoning plan related to the MBTA's Communities Act, if you're familiar with that. Each town has to file a plan by a date that's prescribed by the state. Ours was the beginning of this year. There's 130 other towns that have until the end of this year to file their plan. So there was a lawsuit brought, and basically this is about making sure that the town is being treated fairly and consistently in the law. So if you think about somebody, if the Attorney General was coming and brought a lawsuit against a family member, you would want to make sure that whatever that judge or the jury, they would treat your family member fairly and consistently, and that's what this is about. Look at the district, my constituents as a family, and we're making sure that what we voted on in 2021 is being applied and implemented. And right now, the brief that I filed points out the inconsistencies in terms of how the administration and housing are applying this law. Basically, Milton has access to commuter rail, access to bus service, access to trolley service that connects to the Red Line. And the town is being treated as if it has subway stations and Red Line service like Braintree or Quincy. So they put us in the same category. There's only 15 towns out of the more than 170 that this law affects. There's only 15 in that top tier. And they all have Red Line service, Orange Line service, those types of subway level trains. And so what we're arguing that we don't have subways. The law explicitly says you have a bus station, a subway station, or a ferry terminal, and you should have to zone at that higher level, that higher threshold. And so we're pointing out that we do have commuter rail service, and so we should be put into the adjacent community. And the bottom line is it would take the density that we're being asked to zone from 2,500 units in that top tier down to about 1,000 units. And I really think that if we had been put in this adjacent community tier, the next tier down earlier, that you wouldn't have seen the referendum type vote and the lawsuit. I think that we would have been able to find a place to zone for 1,000 units. What the plan that was rejected back in February, it put too much density in East Milton Square, and it was ultimately rejected. So it's not a no, never. It's not Milton saying that we're never going to do this. In terms of your question about how this affects everybody, it's really just about applying the law and the guidelines consistently going forward so that we have an appropriate level of density we need to zone for the type of service that we use.
Yep.
Yes, Representative Driscoll. I'm very much in favor of the bill, medical aid in dying, and I'd like to know, is it ever going to come for a vote? Will the leadership allow it to come to a vote?
So the question's around medical aid in dying, and will it come to a vote? Right now, there's not a lot of energy around that bill to come up, so it wasn't brought up by August 1st. I don't think so. I don't see it in the future coming up without
Well, there was a hearing on
real.
this recently, and there was a lot of support for it.
Yeah.
3/4 of the voters want to see that pass, so I don't know why the legislature isn't paying attention to it.
Yeah, I think it's something that
Are you in favor of it?
so I can answer the first part
No.
around, that was a ballot question, I think 13, 14 years ago. Typically, the legislature will stay away from an issue if it's been on a ballot question and it happened in the previous 10 years. So I do think it's time to revisit it, whether it's at the public hearings or if it's going to be put to a ballot question. I think given the history of it and the fact that, you know, in our lifetime and certainly in the last, I think it's been under 15 years, I would anticipate that it'd probably be a ballot question again in the future.
I don't think it's going to be a ballot question. I think the legislature has to act on it. And are you in favor of it passing?
At this point, as written, I'm not in favor of it.
You're not in favor.
No.
That's a shame.
Yeah, may I say something on that? I had a very dear friend who lived in Canada, where medical assistance in dying is legal for everyone. And she had terminal pancreatic cancer. And she decided early on she was going to do what they call MAID, M-A-I-D. And she set it up and was completely approved. And when the pain got so intense and there was nothing more they could do for her other than give her more drugs and more oxygen, she opted to go out with dignity, with her family surrounding her. And that's the way human beings should be allowed to terminate their life if there's no hope for any reversal and they're in excruciating pain. So this whole thing with religion and ethics is a lot of malarkey. Thank you, Joe Biden. And we have to recognize that people can make a decision for themselves. No one's forcing you to medically end your life. But why should you suffer and have your family watching you suffer and have no dignity and no quality of life just because a bunch of people have decided, no, it's not so good for us. And I'm very disappointed to hear your position. I will end my spiel with that.
There's always room for you to change your mind. Senator Patrick O'Connor in my district, he's voting for it, and he's in the Catholic religion. I respect that. And there are a lot of Catholic people that are for it. There's a high percentage of Catholics that are for it, and a high percentage of disabled people are for it. About 74%, if not more, of Massachusetts voters want to see this passed, and I hope you'll reconsider.
Governor Healy is for it. She changed her mind.
Yeah, I continue to meet with folks, so yeah, we'll keep the door open to hear about both sides in terms of the advocacy that's been happening.
Thank you.
It's a very strict law. There's a lot of safeguards in it, and there has been no abuses from other states. There's been 11 states that have already passed it over 20 years ago. There haven't been any abuses. There should be no objection. I don't want to have to go to Vermont to die if I'm in terrible, withering pain, and I don't want to suffer. I want to be able to stay in Massachusetts with my family surrounding me when it's my end